right, great. Well, thank you so much for having us here today. What a great event that the Medina family is putting on here for the 11th year. It's an honor to be here today. That's with awesome. A really good friend, Lieutenant General Miles Brown, incredible soldier. I'm going to brag on you a little bit and embarrass you, but he's a native of South Carolina, went to the Citadel, commissioned an artillery officer, was actually the first artillery officer to command a tank brigade, which is a really high honor to be able to cross-fertilize like that. He's done 6 combat tours for our country, 5 in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan.
Thanks.
And he's been married to his lovely wife, Jamie, for 26 years. She's put up with 19 moves, so I think we have to give a shout out to military spouses out there everywhere. And yeah, let's hear it for the military spouses.
That's right.
And their 2 kids, both of them are in the Army, which is absolutely incredible and a testament to their family. So really remarkable. Well, sir, why don't you just start us out by telling us what is Army Futures Command? What are the main focus areas for it?
No, thanks, David. And thanks to Emerge and to Manny and Tony and Melissa for inviting me and allowing me to be a part of this today. So going back about 10 years, there was this real move inside all of the services to really change material development and acquisition. And so in 2018, the Army basically said, we're going to make a decision to really get the Army on a right footing for the 21st century. And so they took about 500 people, which is about a tenth of the size of a normal 4-star command, and they put it outside of Washington, D.C. Does this sound familiar? This isn't a lot. We hear this a lot in the news. So they put it outside of Washington, D.C., and they said, hey, your challenge is to build those modernization efforts that's going to be game changers for the 21st century. Long-range precision fires, next-generation combat vehicle. And so over the last 7 years, we'll be 7 years old this August. Over the last 7 years, we've got a new rifle. We've got updated night vision equipment. We've got a new missile on the way. We've got a new helicopter on the way. We've got a next-generation combat vehicle on the way. And along the way, we put rigor into so many other processes that really weren't part of the initial intention. And so we're really happy to be a part of what's next, the solutions. We're excited about where we're going in terms of the future of the Department of Defense and really getting after putting technology in the hands of soldiers as fast as possible.
That's great. So Army Futures Command, obviously super important at any time, but especially so in this moment in history where we have an unprecedented revolution in military affairs that's happening, because you have 8 domains of warfare: land, sea, ground, undersea, sea bottom, space, electronic warfare, and cyber. And they're all being revolutionized simultaneously by rapid technological developments. So AFC's role is incredibly important within that. So how do you think about where AFC is going to be focused? What are the main focus areas within that?
So when we think about where war is going, and as you laid out, it's much more complex. And so not only have we actually identified all the places where war can take a place, as Manny told us today, war is always interested in us, right? Whether we want to be interested in it or not. And so what we look at for the future is we believe that it's going to be focused on a few things primarily. Number one, command and control. What does that mean? It really means about commanders making decisions. You say, well, why is that so important? Because at the end of the day, you, just like in the tech space, you want to be the last mover sometimes. You want to be the one that's in the position to take advantage of those capabilities that you have to bring overmatch to bear. We don't want to kill any more people than we have to, but we want to win because we want to keep freedom for our country and for successive generations, right? And so the command and control is really, really important. The next part of that, by nature, is we want to counter the enemy's command and control effort. We want to make it where the enemy doesn't know where we are or is not sure, and we want to confuse them as much as possible. We also want to make sure that their systems don't work. So the counter command and control. The other thing that we see about warfare as you talk about the impact of technology is we're going to have expanded maneuver. We're going to see that formations use the intelligence that they receive in real time, and they're moving their fires and their maneuver forces in position at machine speed. And we're going to do this because we're trying to integrate humans and machines together. We're not trying to replace humans with machines. We actually want them to fight in the formation, the same formation together. And just as you would if you have a pet, your favorite dog or cat was probably the one that grew up with you. We want the machines to grow up together with us in the formation. So as they iterate and they get better and they get smarter, and artificial intelligence and the narrow AI that we see now, as it develops into general artificial intelligence, we want to grow along with it in the Army. And as we expand that maneuver, we have to be able to put Army fires in other domains, impact other domains. Well, what's different about that than we have now? Right now, often for the land component, if we need to use fires that are not ours, we'll have fires come into our domain, naval gunfire, air superiority, that type of thing. In the future, we see Army fires impacting in the air domain, in the surface, in the maritime domain, and in the cyber domain. And those fires really originating from the Army, but impacting the entire joint force is a big change from what we have seen in the past. We already see that in how we're fighting overseas now. And the last thing I would say about the future, we're really preparing for survivable formations. We have to make sure that our light formations are more lethal and more survivable. We can get our light formations just about anywhere really, really quickly, and we can do that. We've just got to make sure we protect them and make them as lethal as possible. And we got to make sure our heavy formations are lighter and more able to move at the speed that we need them to. So it's those really notions that we see changing to adapt to that technology.
Yeah, it's a remarkable list of things to address. And let's focus on a couple of scenarios that people are probably familiar with to kind of bring it home. So everyone's seen the drones being used in Ukraine. It's really changed how we fought. But my contention would be that that's the equivalent of the biplane in World War I, because right now every single drone flying through the air is being driven by a person somewhere. That's not going to be the case. In the future, what you're going to have is an AI pilot driving tens of thousands in one cooperative drone swarm with a certain mission. And so enabled by AI, it's going to completely change how we have to fight on the battlefield. The other way the AI is going to come into across a lot of the areas that you mentioned, that command and control especially, is being able to sort through the blizzard of data that we get from our many sensors. Your phone is a sensor, could be used to target you. Street cameras can be used to target people. Military satellites can be used to target people. It's a blizzard of information that gets assimilated, prioritized, and targets assigned out to the best shooter. And so how far away are we, sir, from that future? Are we talking about a couple of years? Are we talking about 10 years? But we're coming to a point where AI doing things that people can't really imagine right now.
So when we think about how long, I think that we're probably 3 to 5 years from starting to see some of these things proliferate in a more ubiquitous way. A lot of the examples that we see from artificial intelligence are just like we use them now. They're more narrow in scope. So you may have an artificial intelligence activity that orders food for you or recommends a next movie. In the same way on a military application, there may be a part of that activity that you have to do that's done with artificial intelligence. When we get to the point where we can start to do things simultaneously, which is the American way of war. I mean, the beautiful thing about the American way of war is we're not sequential. We're simultaneous. Everything comes at you at once. The only thing you know is that you're going to be defeated. And that's exactly the way we want to keep it. So using these artificial intelligence efforts and behaviors to try to build out a simultaneous activity where we use multiple iterations, like you said, in terms of the biplane. We know that drones are going to continue to iterate, technology is going to iterate, hardware is going to get stronger, tougher. We're going to be able to pick up much larger things. We're going to be able to move things faster. We're going to need less fuel. We're going to have power and energy changes. But this artificial intelligence and these examples, to me, I think are between 3 to 5 years out. But just like everything in the Army that I've experienced, we're a reflection of society. If someone discovers something and is able to move it much, much faster, we want to be in a position, well, we are in a position in the Army to be able to take advantage of that. Before 2017, we really weren't, because we weren't organized appropriately. But this part of the at least the Department of Defense that I'm in, the Army has really transformed itself to be able to take advantage of these types of capabilities. And just 6 short years ago, we really weren't. The other thing about artificial intelligence, it's really, really important, is we have to realize that we are Americans. We're Americans, we're not Americans, right? So it's not about what we can do, it's about what we can do. I think that's a beautiful thing here that you've been talking about a lot with eMERGE. It's about what we can do. We want to make sure that we don't kill anybody that doesn't need to be killed. We have a law of armed conflict that we follow. We are protecting non-combatants. We want to kill those that need to be killed, but we want to protect those that need to be protected. And so as we look at artificial intelligence, I get asked many times, do you see a human in the loop? I would hope so. Until such time as we have artificial intelligence that can outthink a human, because we have to think about proportionality and discrimination, just the same way our public safety officers do, our police officers and firefighters. When they do their missions and their roles, they have to do proportionality and discrimination determinations all the time to figure out how much water to put onto a fire or how much force to use when they're trying to apprehend somebody. In the same way, we have to do that for the Army. And so I don't want to have bad AI put somebody at risk and we lose human life. Human life is precious. Every human is extraordinary. There are no ordinary people, right? We're all created human. We're all special. And so we want to make sure that we preserve life as much as we can. But that doesn't mean that we don't be as lethal as we absolutely possibly can be. We are an Army that prides itself on lethality. That's been a discussion topic for the last 2 or 3 months, that we want to be lethal in what we do. And lethality I see as my constitutional responsibility. I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, and that's my constitutional responsibility. And I think we all feel that way in the Army, that we want to be as lethal as we possibly can be, and we take pride in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So so we're 3 to 5 years away from a future where you have a kill web with AI sitting in the middle of that chain all the way from target acquisition to giving those targets out to autonomous platforms in all domains, air, land, sea, and so forth, which brings up the topic of human-machine integration. And how do you think about that at AFC and within the Army?
So we want to stop thinking about the next thing. We want to stop thinking about the next platform. We want to think about how it fights. One of our challenges has been over the years is someone will come up with a new tank or a new rifle or a new capability, but we think about that just in itself, almost in a silo. And what we've tried to do is we build our requirements now. We're thinking heavily about how the formation is going to fight. And it really mirrors what we see with the technological innovations and developments that are happening right now, where things have multi-mission payload. They can change payloads. They can change fuels. I remember when I first joined the Army, and I wanted to make a pot of coffee in the morning, I had like a little stove that I could bring, a propane gas can, or I could start a fire. And now they make stoves that you can buy that take just about any kind of fuel that you can imagine. In the same way, we have to be adaptable inside our formations, not just with what we do for power and energy, but what we do for payload packages, what we do for electronic warfare. We want to be able to dial it down and dial it up to make sure that we present different signatures and that we make our formations really hide in plain sight as much as possible. And this is something that we don't think about when we talk about that is mobility. The faster we can move, the safer we are. When we look at what's going on in Ukraine, you see a lot of the drones that are super fast, or you see the vehicles that are moving, the robots that are moving. Mobility is a form of protection. You don't have to be heavier to be protected. You can be faster and be protected too, or you can be concealed. And so taking advantage of all that, I think, is what we're going to see as these things develop. And, this could be 1 to 2 years. We said 3 to 5. It could be 1 to 2. It could be 8 to 10. It really depends on, how the development goes on technological innovation and how things go faster and faster. We expected, in many cases, that we would have repelled gravity by now, right? Well, I don't think anybody's gotten there yet. If anybody knows how to repel gravity, I'll be in the back. I'd love to talk to you. But if somebody were to repel gravity or discover that, well, that would really change things, wouldn't it? Not just from a military application, from a commercial application. Can you imagine it? Or if you could 3D print blood, right? If you could machine blood so that you didn't have to worry about, if you were worried about a blood drive or something like. These are the types of game-changing innovations or inventions that completely change not just the battlefield, but our whole world.
Yeah.
And we want to be in position to take advantage of that, which I think we were out of position about 7 years ago.
Yeah. And so as you look at the battlefield, we talk about autonomous platforms. We're not looking at just an army of Terminators. No people out there. How do you think about the role of people and the role of machines?
I think the people, what we want is we want people to be able to make decisions. That's why one of the primary notions is command and control for us, is how that command and control is enabled. As I think about my daughter as a lieutenant and the decisions that she's going to have to make in the Army, or my son as a lieutenant and the decision he's going to have to make, I want them to be able to have the experience and instincts of somebody that has many, many more years than they do. Because I know when I was a lieutenant, I made a lot of mistakes. But I want artificial intelligence and machines to be able to augment that so that I can offload the risk. When we talk about how machines and humans are going to be able to integrate together in a formation, it's really about offloading risk. We talk a lot about we don't want to trade blood for first contact. So as an example of what I mean, when I was a young private, 17 years old, in the South Carolina Guard, I would train on the weekends, and some weekends they would train me on how to dig for mines down on the ground and looking for mines with a knife. And I remember laying on the ground thinking, I hope I don't really have to do this for real. Because if it does, I've got about 2 seconds left, right? I don't ever want our soldiers to be laying on the grounds looking for mines. I want breaching and mine detection and mine, destruction, minefield destruction. I want that to be done by machines, because it's about us getting after the risk, lowering the risk. We're trying to think about things from the dangerous, the dirty, and the dull. Those are where we want to offload risks to machines so that we bring more of our blood and treasure home. And I don't think that it's been lost on any of us that we've seen the conflict in Ukraine, that they've been using machines to both breach, to lay minefields, to do resupply. It's not just about using them in a lethal way. It's about using them for administration, logistics, sustainment, as well as engineer mobility, counter-mobility, and survivability.
That's great. And so as we look forward and think about threats to our country, China obviously is a threat the size of which our country's never faced.
Right.
Economic power is the basis of military power. The Nazis and Soviets were never the same size economy as us. They were only a fraction. The Chinese are the same size, and they're very belligerent and have named a year by which they want to be ready. They have a lot of things going for them, but they're not 10 feet tall either. And we have a lot of advantages as well. So let's focus on that last part. How do you see our primary advantages in the United States?
So I think our number one advantage are our leaders. And you say, well, yeah, but I want to talk technology. Well, I'm glad to talk technology with you, but just go with me for a minute. So I'm here today, but for me sitting here, there are 100 people in the United States Army that could do my job better than me. That's not the case with our adversaries. They don't have the combat experience. They don't have the leader development. They don't have the training. They don't have the coaching and the teaching. They don't build leaders. They're not a free thinking, right? Autocratic armies that come from autocratic states do more like running a playbook, less thinking, and it's a free thinking and free army that really makes a difference on the 21st century battlefield. We've seen this many times. If you look at Ukraine, what Ukraine has done is Ukraine has brought the power of a free people to this fight. And so as we think about the threat, first of all, when we think about the threat, we shouldn't just look at red. We should look at what we can do, again, as Americans, to be able to put and deliver combat capability into the hands of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, and Coast Guardsmen. And so being able to do that is really important, because our future depends on it, right? Is being able to get that capability to them. So when we think about the threat, I think our number one advantage are our leaders. It's our asymmetric advantage. And inside the Army, my experience is our non-commissioned officer corps, which is extraordinary. You know, our non-commissioned officer corps is the envy of every Army, of our non-commissioned officers across the whole military, is the envy of every military in the world, right? And I know this. You talked about the few times that I've been overseas. I've been overseas a little bit, not as much as some, but more than some too, I guess. And when I would wear this uniform and I would go into another country, it always meant one of two things. To our enemies, it brings fear. But to our allies, it brings hope, our allies and partners. And that leadership advantage is what we really need to rely on heavily. At the same time, those leaders deserve the best technology, right? Those leaders deserve the best capability. And they deserve for us not to buy something for 50 years and expect that it's going to work for 50 years. We have to be able to constantly change what we buy and to be able to update what we get in a routine way and get that in their hands. So General George, our Chief of Staff of the Army, has an initiative called Transformation in Contact. And what that essentially is we take technology that's ready right now, TRL 9, Technology Readiness Level 9, that's integrated, and we give it to a combat formation, and they train with it, and then they have it if they have to go fight tonight. As we've heard some of the decisions that have been coming out in the last 90 days, there's a lot of talk about lots of different capability that we need in different domains. But some of those capabilities take years, if not decades, to develop, right? What we're looking for in the Army is what can we do tonight? How can we be ready tomorrow? Because there's a lot of technology, at least for land power, that's ready right now. And we want to get that in the hands of soldiers.
Yeah, that's well said. Yeah, I think I just echo that. eMERGE is a great example of our biggest advantage of a country, which is entrepreneurship, innovation,
right.
Grit. Even the Medina family came here from Cuba. They lived the American dream. It's incredible. And so we're a nation full of that. And we can't ever forget that, full of those people.
And yet you don't have to separate, I just want to do a tech event. Well, no, they're willing to say, okay, we can do tech, we can do startups, we can do defense, we can bring everybody together because it's about, it's about lots of different options coming toward, an integrated solution for our country.
And so as you think about the tech and the venture capital that's flooding into the space, Palmer Luckey talked about that a little bit. How are you accessing that and interfacing with that today?
So we always interact with industry in three ways in the Army. We lead, we shape, or we follow. There's certain technologies, there's some things that we do that's at different levels of classification that only we are able to do. There's some things that we want to shape. If we look at robots, for instance, we're trying to shape that. If we're looking at quantum, we want to follow along and keep up with quantum because there's going to be opportunities for tech insertion. The thing that's different than it was 10 or 15 years ago, or maybe going back to Desert Storm after we finished Desert Storm, is private money is actually interested in defense. And that is huge for us. And so what we're doing is we're engaging with every industry partner we can. In Army Futures Command, we engage with everybody, right? You say, oh, well, you integrate or engage with certain companies other than others. And actually, that's not true. We engage with quite a few. Anybody that asks, from startups, small business, large business, primes, foreign companies that want to do investment here. So that venture capital is a huge development for us that I'm not sure we really saw coming. But we are trying to take advantage of it and trying to open ourselves up. We in Army Futures Command want to be the front door to be able to talk to industry about that when it comes to VC opportunities.
All right. And so new technology coming along, venture capital is very important to fostering that. But what we've also seen with the war in Ukraine is that you got to be able to manufacture at scale and resupply. And so rebuilding the arsenal of democracy, what's AFC's role in the approach to that?
I think for, our Army Futures Command doesn't necessarily manage the material base or the industrial base, but we do impact it a lot in how we do science and technology and how we get capability in the hands of soldiers. And I think this is one of those, I believe, our Transformation and Contact initiative that the Army has now is we're trying to generate momentum by taking things that are manufactured in the United States that don't have supply chain problems, that are worked on by U.S. companies, and get them into formations faster. And what it does is it creates that demand signal that now people know that they can build because there will be somebody to give it to on the other end. And I think the other part is to be honest about what we need and what we don't. A lot of times I get asked about where we spend our research and development dollars. And where I always spend, we spend hours on top-down priorities. 7 or 8 years ago, most of the Army research was done from the bottom up. If you're a metallurgist and you're excited about metallurgy, then you're going to work on a metallurgy project. Now what we do is we go to our scientists and engineers and say, these are the problems I want you to solve. And that drives it from top down. That's really important when you have to make prioritized decisions.
Yeah, so just as we wrap up here, we're coming up on a really important anniversary for the Army, which is the 250th anniversary of the Army. It means a lot to me personally.
You have an unbelievable, David has an unbelievable historical, lineage in the Army, on both sides.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, we have some ancestors going back to the Revolution, Civil War. I have a son and a daughter in the Army right now and another son in the Navy. And so they'll be serving alongside Miles's kids. Yeah. But I was curious, sir, what does that upcoming 250th anniversary mean to you? Because I know you have military tradition going back to the Revolution and Civil War as well.
So I think our 250th anniversary, our 250th birthday, June 14th of this year, will be 250. And if you think back, that means that the Army is older than the nation. Actually, we're the nation's first institution, if you think about it that way. And you have to, if you look historically, the United Kingdom would not have taken the Declaration of Independence seriously if we didn't have a field army and a deep water navy. They just would not have, right? They wouldn't have taken us seriously. And so we have an opportunity to educate not only ourselves, our force. There's 1.2 million soldiers in uniform, and then hundreds of thousands of Army civilians. We take pride in the fact that we have made an impact on this country, and it's something that is very long lasting. But I think as we look for the next 250 years, it's events like this that we start planting trees that will mature down the road. So it's not just looking backwards. I think as we come up on our anniversary this year, we want to look forwards. We want to look toward the future. We want to fight for the future that we want, not just the future that's going to happen to us. We have to advocate for the future that we want, and we have to desire it, and we have to make it happen. And so we can't sit on the sidelines. We don't want to be bystanders to history. The last thing I would say is for those of you out there who have propensity to serve, whether in uniform or as a civilian in the military or in any way to give back, I think it's very, very important. I joined the Army as a 17-year-old kid, only planning to do a few years. And frankly, I fell in love with the people and the mission. And I think if you give back between the ages of 17 to 25, if you give back to your country, it'll give back to you for the rest of your life. And so I recommend the Army and the military very highly, obviously. and I'm not ashamed of that. And so I think that's one of the reasons probably both of our kids or all of our family decided to serve, because they felt like it was home.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to the
you.
Medina family and Tyler Johnson, and thank you to General Brown.
Thanks, everybody.
Tremendous leader.